What was the craziest reason a teacher at your school got fired? Our high school art teacher got fired after someone found an old YouTube video of him painting with his butt cheeks. We held a protest to try to keep him around, but they fired him anyway. Pablo Picasso? There's a great Malcolm in the Middle opening where he eats by himself in the house and breaks a framed thrift store painting in the living room. He goes over to patch it up, and a corner that the frame covers is exposed with Picasso's signature. Reese reads it aloud as Picasso giggles to himself and then puts the frame back on, hiding the means to escape via financial troubles. A professor at my college was placed on administrative leave because he was charged with participating in the Rwandan genocide and was deported shortly after. He ended up being found not guilty, although I think he's still in a Rwandan prison for denying that the genocide happened. Edit. To be more clear, his opinion was that the genocide was not a genocide, and that it was a civil war in which the Hutu are victimized as much as, if not more than, the Tutsi. Wait. So he was both accused of participating in it and then sentenced for saying it never happened to begin with. Fucking wild. Maybe he was accused of being in it, so his defense was that he couldn't have been in it because it never happened. Classic checkmate. She posted nudes on her public Facebook profile. Power move. Sent a porn link instead of Google form by email. Many students then commented on the video with a lot of great jokes. Funny times. Took one for the team. Sounds like you saw the same video. I went to HS in the early 80s in a tiny rural Appalachian town 35 miles from the closest traffic light. We had classes that taught auto mechanics, one that taught carpentry, had a motorcycle riding CL butt and a rifle shooting CL butt, and classes for welding and machine shop with lathes and milling machines etc. Rather, teacher of the machine shop got arrested for making silencers for the Mayfair, Fear, and half the stuff he had us making as CL butt projects on the lathes and milling machines was items he used in making them. NG them. I'm from a town like that, only we had one stoplight in the county. It was on wheels, so you could move it to different places that needed at different times of the year. I was at a Catholic school and one teacher got fired because he remarried after a divorce. A history teacher I had in high school gave us a lot of random documentary/movie days, during which she would just sit in the back at her desk drinking tea. The year after I graduated, she had a movie day, and when the film ended she didn't get up or do anything but sit there, eyes closed, fearing the worst. Some students went to the office and brought an administrator down who found she was passed out drunk. They found bottles in her desk. Why is it always the history or math teachers that are bad teachers? Math are always pedophiles and history are either drunks or pedophiles. It makes me feel really weird since those are my two favorite topics. Anyway, I have to get off Reddit and get back to sharing a cocktail with my grandson. Wait. Are you seriously asking why someone who loves history so much they decided to teach it, and then they had to deal with high schoolers' drinks? Shop teacher got a sophomore pregnant. Same thing happened when I was in middle school, except the girl was 13. Other than the sex scandal with underage students that happened, my best friend got a teacher fired on accident because she was buying and selling UGR cards with students. He just so happened to say how cool it was to another teacher, which led to, well, a not so happy ending. That's lame. Sorry for the teacher trying to connect with students. What's even worse is the other stories on this post about pedos not getting fired. Our app calculus teacher in high school had a mental break, ranted for an entire CL period about some nonsense, then drank an entire bottle of salsa, stormed out and never came back. They had a substitute for the rest of the semester, which was unfortunate since the sub wasn't a calculus teacher, so they were at a disadvantage for the app test. My band teacher resigned and fled back to his home state, but ended up getting arrested on federal charges. He was having sex with band students on trips, and some of them were across state borders. His house was searched, and he had videos. He got 45 days in jail. His parents are affluent and was able to push the trial out several years before eventually pleading guilty. This was after a band assistant was fired for dating a 16-year-old trumpet player while 33. The principal resigned amongst all this. A student teacher who was coaching cheer gave a girl pain meds, narcotic, without a prescription or permission from parents. She got fired. Never heard if she managed to get a teaching license after that. I remember a day where I got my braces tightened and asking a friend for a Tylenol. I guess my science teacher overheard because he gave me one. But he made me promise not to tell anybody. Don't know what would have happened if I told someone my science teacher gave me a pill. Yeah, it's really weird. They did this in my school too. If you needed Tylenol, they sent you to the nurse. They wouldn't let you use your own or give out cough drops. One time one of my teachers literally went off on a kid when he was handing out cough drops. It feels so surreal now, lol. Long story short, my French teacher was ducking lunch lady in school property. Maybe he was just thanking her for her delicious mashed potatoes? Well, he sure smashed hers. He left his laptop open in CL but while teaching, and a student found child porn on it while trying to play a prank. Cops promptly found stashes of the stuff at his house. When they investigated further, was arrested and is now in prison as far as I know. He taught students aged 11 to 16, organized a student choir, and was even the main teacher for some of the younger classes. This was well publicized in the local media at the time. Not just a vile nonce, but a duckingdom one at that. Not my school, but one in my general area, had an entire lunch period's worth of students watch a male teacher scream at his wife, female teacher in the same school, after catching her with the janitor in school. To be fair, that's how some people probably react. A teacher called one of his students and drunk confessed his obsessive love to her on voicemail. Close bracket. Promising to leave his new wife and baby for her. Our teacher was a chronic liar and lied about having a master's and a degree. Funny thing is, she actually did have a relevant degree that would have got her the job. Other lies include dating Brad Pitt, being an ex-gang member, and even being a multi-millionaire, but just enjoying teaching. I have some strong déjà vu from this comment. I swear I've seen it before. He threw pencils at students. One day he threw a chair at a girl who annoyed him. Serious anger management issues. And then they found the child porn on his computer at school. Rumor was that he had also been grooming one of the student aides. I haven't heard a thing about him since the year he disappeared. Was this in rural Michigan? This was in the South. But the fact that it may also have happened elsewhere makes me uncomfortable. My middle school history teacher, Mr. Lewis, used to invite me and some of my friends, all girls, into his room before classes, since otherwise we had to stay in the incredibly cramped hallway. This was desirable, especially when he let us play with Cleverbot on his desktop. Mr. Lewis was pretty weird. He only ever wore velvet suits with pocket squares, and sometimes he'd randomly start crying in the middle of class. Weirdest of all, he'd make us listen to his love poetry, dedicated to his dead wife, who we later learned did not and had not existed. In retrospect, that love poetry was definitely for us. Specifically, it was for one of us, my friend Ruth, who looked notably younger than your average 12Y/0. He'd always ask her to write notes on the blackboard and stare at her while she did it. The rest of us noticed Ruth was Mr. Lewis' favorite, but it didn't strike us as that weird. Well, one day, it was only Ruth who got to school early. The rest of us didn't come till later. She went into Mr. Lewis' room, and I guess he tried something. Luckily I don't think it got very far. He was put on leave. They brought him back a year later. Fun. That man needs some serious help. He wrote poetry for a bunch of young girls. That's some fucked up stuff. The velvet suits and pocket squares should have been clue enough, I would think. It was in a Catholic monastery school not even 10 years ago. My homeroom teacher prevented the suicide of a nun and got fired for it. That's literally all the info we pupils got at the time. Apparently you can't do anything right in this world. So, let's get this straight. Diddle kids equals shuffled to new congregation/diocese. Prevent a suicide equals termination. Maybe he panicked and tried to jump kick the knife out of her hand. My kindergarten teacher picked me up by the neck and tossed me across the room. She wasn't actually fired. just not allowed to teach kindergarten again. Instead, she taught 2nd grade. She was my teacher that year, too. In her defense, odds are pretty good that I had it coming. I'm sorry, but even the most facetious and mischievous kindergartner doesn't deserve to be picked up and thrown. But they do sometimes deserve imagining that. My language arts teacher got caught taking the bus up to the mountain to smoke weed with the ski club. This was back before the sticky Ike was legal here. 25 years ago at my old boys Catholic high school, a priest was accused/caught molesting a student. Of course this wasn't a firing offense for a priest back then, it was just hushed up. The guy was creepy as hell. Earlier this year I read about him in the paper, a fresh round of allegations. He was allowed to keep on going for another 25 freaking years. You write Catholic priest and you instantly know what it's gonna be about. The Catholic priest stereotype is one stereotype I wish wouldn't keep continually proving itself to be true. Had a history teacher show a bunch of 7th graders drunk history. The goody two shoes of the CL but asked and told her mom, who complained to the school. He was fired by the end of the week. That's the girl that asks if we need to turn in assignments right before CL budget's out. Mr. Melville, you forgot to tell us what our homework is. Apostrophe. A teacher at my middle school got fired because they found her picture on an adult site with no top and her number written across her chest. Wait, was it like made a long time ago? Or was it just made? Even then that's still a stupid reason to fire someone. A teacher apparently got fired for doing drugs before CL but a couple years after I had her. I thought it was just rumors before the principal just avoided the question after being asked about it. A really cool teacher of mine put on the 2016 Deadpool movie in CL but after some convincing from the class. Anyways, some kid snitched, no idea who, and because the movie was rated R she was fired. She was really cool too, and I felt pretty bad. The kid who snitched is in a hole. Seriously, like soon as the other kids are able to convince her, I'm going straight to the principal. She was involved in a murder. No, she didn't kill anyone. She was one of the last people that were seen with the victim. She was the victim's best friend. News reporters kept on showing up to my school to try to get any words they could from my teacher. And as you can imagine, it became a huge distraction for the students. It was sad. The case became pretty famous in my home state, and a law was created in the victim's name. That really sucks. Imagine this life from her perspective. Best friend murdered. Harassed by the media. Lose your job because media is a distraction. Freshman year of HS we kept having bomb scares. About once a month we would have to evacuate while the police brought the bomb dogs to check out the place. Turns out it was one of our long-term subs. She got arrested, but don't know the end result. Why? Was just tired of teaching that day, so she called in a threat. Broke a kid's arm because he wasn't able to answer a question or something. He was sued and fired. WTF. What exactly went down? He was a madman. He had some serious anger problems. Don't remember which subject he used to teach, but a kid from the other CL but got on his nerves for the dumbest reasons and broke the kid's arm in the process. A maths teacher got in a fist fight with the art teacher because the maths teacher stopped the guys who were doing art from leaving his maths CL but to take their state exam. The exam was the Junior Cert Art Practical. This was in Ireland. Edited for extra clarity and more background info. The union intervened and he got his job back. Clarification: the art teacher stopped the art students from going to a state exam, or the fired teacher was stopping the art students from going to the exam. Edit: autocorrect. Grade 6. Our male teacher was apparently wrestling after hours with a girl in RCL but and gifting her lottery tickets. One day our principal came in, asked the teacher to come with him. They both got in the principal's car and we never saw that teacher again. My best guess is the teacher got fucking murdered. That or beaten within an inch of his life. Probably not that crazy, but a history teacher who made sexually explicit commentary/jokes directed largely at female students on multiple occasions. Showed multiple R-rated films that had nothing to do with the curriculum without getting parental consent. This was 6th grade, so we were 12 years old or so. He also really liked to talk about the Nanking Massacre. in graphic detail, especially the sexual parts, complete with pictures he put up on the projector. He devoted multiple days to it. I never got confirmation that was what got him fired, but that was everything that I had documented with times and dates and brought up to the principal very shortly before he was never seen at school again. Edit. This got more attention than I expected. I had honestly never considered that the guy could be a pedophile and that was grooming or whatever. I was just a colossal nerd who was upset we weren't learning more history with all the time spent on movies and him chatting and joking during CL bar time. The nanking bit was disturbing and forever burned into my head. But right alongside the Holocaust, which in the context of a history CL but a historical event didn't seem that unreasonable to go over. It wasn't nanking in general. But the joy he took in describing it that bothered me. And I say he spent multiple days on it. But a day for this guy was only like 10 to 15 minutes of actual instruction. The rest being the chatting. I was proud of my part in getting rid of him. Because the rest of the year was spent actually learning history. With homework and reports and everything. I never considered that I might have had a role in curtailing the efforts of a pedophile. I never told my classmates of what I did. Because they hated me enough already without them knowing I might have helped turn an easy ACL but into one they had to actually put a bit of effort into. You and your peers need all the eye bleach y'all can get. A lot of Chinese hate the Japanese because of the Nanking massacre and many other war crimes they did. It infuriates me that he only talks about the rape. For fuck's sake. Didn't get fired, but should have. 9th grade. Room of angsty teens gets a new English teacher. Mrs. Redacted. This English teacher likes 3 things. Jesus, pouring pills down her autistic son's throat, and Anne Rice. During CL but when talking about an assignment, a couple students talked about a student who attempted suicide and the teacher had enough. She got up and explained how to properly cut your wrists to a whole class. What an educational experience. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the awards and upvotes. I rarely bring up this teacher, but this Askreddit seemed the appropriate time. Also I removed the name. I talked about this a few days ago, but she told me she didn't want me doing any practical work because she knew I was retarded, and it's not fair that I take all her attention away from the normal children. I was 14, autistic, and it broke my ducking head. I taught children with autism for years and your comment breaks my heart. That woman doesn't belong anywhere near a classroom. She wasn't actually fired, but after everyone heard what she said, no teacher would talk to her. She was forced to resign. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.